Working on the AN with the broken part here that I've repaired, and it looks like it's going to work pretty good. I don't know if we can see that in there. Basically liquid nailed it. I got to put a video up about it already, but yeah, so I'm just going around and touching up the base. I mean, here's the side I haven't done yet. Here's the side I have. I might come back over it with another pass to kind of make it a little more textured. But yeah, basically just I'm using these two colors, flat burnished amber and metallic rust, and a little bit of black. Got a little drop of white, one shot white on here, just to kind of milk it up a little bit, because you know it's not. I don't know who invented that, but that is the worst design. Your finger's so close to the nozzle. So, just kind of working my way around here. When I did this before on another fan, on my really nice one, I used some SEM etching primer first, but you know, I barely had any. I just had a couple tiny spots on that one. This one I've got a pretty good amount of touch up to do around the perimeter of the base. So I just hope that repair holds. I mean, I think it's gonna. You know, I basically made a bar, took a piece of flat stock, what do you call it? Anyway, 1/2 inch, and you know, bent it a couple times and made it so that it fit right in here alongside, and just liquid nailed the bejesus out of it. All right, let me move this a little bit, and I think it's gonna work pretty good. I mean, ain't cured yet, so I'm not gonna assemble it because I put this a little bit of a second coat on this morning. But yeah, you can see that color is pretty good. It's a little flat, you know, because it's a flat finish, I guess, but it's okay, you know. I got a little bit of these other colors mixed in here that are shiny, so it should even out. Yeah, this color it's like a purpley, you know, it's got this sort of purpley undertone, but it originally, I think, was meant to be flat out copper, like the blades. So whatever they put on this paint, maybe it was the same paint as on the blades, but it was transparent for one, but I think it faded quickly because this is the color that's on the capacitor, and the capacitor bracket matches the blades. Now, why would they use a different color? Why would they say, well, just use the blade color, when you know you see that through here? So in all other 77s, you know, that color, that's the color that's on the capacitor bracket and the capacitor, is basically the same as the fan. You know, so like an AN will have the same color, an ivory will have ivory on the capacitor. Got one somewhere. I got a capacitor from the ivory fan that's got ivory on it. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty doggone good, given that, you know, it's down low. I mean, if this was a giant swatch in the middle, like I got a base over there that's got that I just don't think. I mean, I might try it one day, but it's just a little too much to try to. Can't really tell that probably. This had some real, like, yellowy white. I'm assuming that was corrosion just from the aluminum corroding, and it wasn't a lead primer, because they basically used black wrinkle on these, and that was there wasn't a primer under the black. The black was put directly on the metal, on the aluminum. And you know, because this is textured, I'm intentionally kind of working back into this a little bit when it's as it's drying, to kind of, you know, roust up that paint a little bit, give it a little bit of texture. So it's really a pretty simple procedure. And you don't need one shot. You could use all black. I sound like Bob Ross. You could use, you know, all spray paint. Just spray a little bit of black, a little bit of white. You really don't need much white, but just in some areas, you know, where it's faded a little more, it's got a little bit more of a mauvey kind of purpley thing going on. Not really using the white to lighten it, more so just to make it gray or adjust the color, so to speak. That's really dark right there. And yeah, I mean, with the felt coming up on this, you're really not gonna see, you won't even be able to tell. I think that's touch up. I mean, and then we're gonna do these two little dots right here. This one up here. Yeah, it's so hard to pull that trigger on that when you're just trying to put a little bit out, because, you know, and trying to keep your finger out of the way of the stream. Just really, really piss poor design. Oh wow, almost all the way around. Just decided to go live because this way it is what it is, you know, and I don't have to like edit. I always feel compelled to try to edit. I mean, I don't do too much editing or production on my videos, man. They are what they are, you know. But this way there's pretty much none of that, you know. It is what it is, and one less video I got stored on my phone. This will get black felt, but I think the original felt might on this one have been, it almost kind of looked like a dark green. But I'm out of the really dark green that I had. Used that, I only had a little tiny piece from this antique shop that has this really big wooden cabinet with all these wool pieces. like second, like little, what do you call it? Like, you know, from a shop that they trim stuff. And yeah, now I didn't get this thing absolutely picture perfect clean, but you know what? All right, I'm starting to forget where I worked on that, so. Now the blade on this one is not in great shape. It had some pretty good dings on the side of it, on the edges of a few of the wings, and just, you know, pretty battered. Paint's in pretty good shape, of course, just other than just on the edge, but I don't know, man. I feel like I don't even know, you know, if I can get it balanced with all that little damage to the edges. Okay, that's pretty good. Go back over this. I have a pretty good color. You know, got some other old videos on the last AN I did, the one that's just mint wrinkle. You know, I did a tiny bit of this touch up on it, but otherwise it's really minty. And the blades on that one I painted. I you know, had a color made. I found a color in a book at the, you know, automotive paint place, and that wasn't quite right. I went back and got another color that was sort of similar to it, but a little darker. And then I mixed those two together, about 50-50, and that color ended up being really right on. And I'm thinking, not on this one, but you know, if I ever have to recreate the wrinkle finish, which I'm gonna do that on an ivory one that I've got to completely redo. I mean, it's just a basket case. On that one, I'm gonna do the wrinkle, paint ivory, obviously, but I'm thinking about, if I get good at that wrinkle finish, I'm gonna do one of these and then just use that coppery color paint for the blades as the body color, because I think, like I said, I believe the whole fan was painted to look like that color that's on the capacitor and the blades. And that's what I'm gonna do, just to see what one looks like that way. Now here, you can see the black wrinkle. Well, you probably can't, but the black wrinkle's kind of coming through, but the wrinkle finish is still there. So on this, I'm gonna just use some of this, and hopefully this doesn't, I can't remember if this affects if this dissolves the wrinkle. I don't think so if I'm quick. I'm gonna just sort of go over that original wrinkle finish with a little bit of just the paint. Yeah, I don't really like that. I corked up all my windows. It's starting to get nice, or at least this weekend was nice, and but I corked up all the windows to kind of keep the cold in, or the heat in and the cold out, when it was like, you know, really, really cold a few weeks ago. I mean, below zero and negative 15 degree wind chills, or, you know, yeah, wind chills and stuff. So, not sure I like that too much. Yeah, just kill it a little bit with my finger. All right, that's pretty good. All right, now I gotta work on this crack. So let's do this. I almost feel like I want a smaller brush. Well, same size, but new and in better condition. These were on Amazon, and I mean, they're all in their own little tube. Just, you know, I got a whole thing of them. They were super cheap, like, you know, $8 or something. And they work really good for this sort of stuff. So, I don't think the crack is ever gonna not be a little visible. Yeah, some odd milling on this thing. I don't know if you can see it, but this thing is beveled right here and beveled opposite right here. So it's sort of slanted. And I ended up having to, you know, I don't know if my glue job wasn't quite aligned perfectly. I can't imagine it wasn't, but I ended up having to shave it down a little bit. And I think that's gonna help. But I don't know, like I said, this is all just kind of a shot in the dark. Well, you can't really feel that crack, but you sure as heck can see it up close. heater going here. Help speed us along. Help speed up the texturing. I mean, I think that looks pretty good around the perimeter. Not perfect, but yeah, the crack repair, I ended up getting, I initially didn't want to get any JB weld on the two mating surfaces. You know, I almost was gonna super glue the piece in there and then do the JB weld, but I needed to get the piece mounted inside onto here first, just because there wasn't enough room to do it, and I wouldn't have been able to do it with this piece mounted on there. But I ended up, you know, getting some JB weld on the mating surface, which kind of, you know, wasn't the end of the world, but it just wasn't really how I wanted to go about it. Yeah, there's the crack is really visible. It's better in the front. Really need a tinier brush, frankly. Trying to sort of fill in the crack a little bit with the paint and then wipe it off, and that's kind of working, but I don't know, I got to be careful I don't, you know, it'll mess up the original finish for sure. All right, well, I think we'll call that done for now for round one of touch-up. I think that's pretty doggone good. So, you know, you can see why I didn't want to, move this light here. You can see why I didn't want to just weld this. I mean, if I'm going to have to weld it and then redo the wrinkle finish, I'm just going to get and grab another base, you know? But, all right.